Hi, and welcome back to our expert chat area. My name is Magie Lacambra. I'm a certified athletic trainer and a team sport manager with Gatorade. We're back to have another expert chat, but this time focusing on excelling in the professional sports arena. And we're joined by some leaders of the professions here, of each of the sports organizations. So first we have James Colins, who is the current president of the Professional Football Athletic Trainer Society. We have, and he's with the Los Angeles Chargers. We have Kevin Morley with the New Jersey Devils, head athletic trainer. Correct? Yeah. We have Duane Brooks, most recently with the New Orleans Pelicans. And we have Mark O'Neill with the Chicago Cubs and current president of Professional Baseball Athletic Trainers Society. So. Wow, that's a mouthful. So thank you all for being here. I was supposed to give a little bio on each of you guys that's a little bit deeper than that, but we're going to go straight to the questions here instead. So James, I'm going to let you start off.
Okay.
Is what led you to choose working in the NFL?
Well, I've always originally wanted to work in professional sports because I felt like you really wanted to challenge yourself. You wanted to work for the elite level athlete, and I think especially after doing a internship in professional football, I knew that that's the direction I wanted to go, and it's worked out pretty good.
Excellent. We're going to have everybody answer it. So Kevin?
So I was working in college hockey out of grad school, and honestly it was kind of happenstance in that I felt like I'd been doing that for a period of time and I really enjoyed it, but pro hockey jobs were kind of presenting themselves a little bit, and we're fortunate enough to be in sports where that happens, because obviously not everybody's in that situation. And so pro hockey jobs were starting to kind of be on my radar, and I had no mortgage and no kids and no wife, and I said, you know what, if I don't try pro sports, I think I'm going to regret it, and even if I hate it, I can always come back. And that was 11 years ago, and it's going okay.
Pretty good decision at
but
this point.
But I still want to go back.
Yeah, well, that's it. I think that's a message that we want to give people also, is take a leap. Sometimes you have to be willing to take a chance, and a calculated risk maybe, but at least take a chance. And then Duane, you're kind of a unique situation because you've been in two professional leagues. You've been both in the NFL and the NBA. So what drove you to that?
I think initially, just like James, I always had an interest in the football field and in pro football. I was able to get some volunteer hours locally with the Buccaneers in my hometown, and after getting those volunteer hours, that's all I wanted to do. So that got me started.
So once you get a taste, it kind of bites you and keeps you going, right?
Yes.
All right, Mark, what about you?
It's a leap of faith as well. I was doing football and basketball at the University of Arkansas, and before all these new spring training facilities became so dynamic, a lot of the players would come back to the schools that they pitched at in college or played at in college and work out before spring training. And for a couple of guys that were in the St. Louis Cardinals organization were working out, and they'd found out that one of their A-ball athletic trainers had resigned, and one of the athletic trainers at Arkansas had been in the Cardinals system, made a quick call, and the head of the athletic trainer there, a guy named Dean Weber, said, hey, why don't you go try it and see what happens, and if you come back in the fall, we'll see how it works out, and never looked back.
A few years later, still at it, right?
Yeah, still at it. 29 years later.
Excellent. Well, you all work in very different sports, but you have a lot of similarities within your roles. And even, James can attest to this, and hopefully doesn't mind that I say this, that having had a little experience on ice a few weeks ago on an event and maybe not having such great balance, probably wouldn't have the same experience on ice as Kevin does getting out there to help his athletes.
Curling's hard. Very hard. Thank you. I'm glad you said that.
So with that in mind, with the similarities within your roles, what do you find to be the most rewarding part of your jobs? And Kevin, let's have you start this one.
So I think for me, what this all boils down to is relationships, and that's why I like being an athletic trainer. And I liked that when I worked in college hockey, and I like that when I do events for other companies. And so for me, certainly the cliche answer, which quite honestly continues to be the answer, is somebody gets hurt and you see them from the initial assessment scenario, and then you're progressing with therapeutic exercise, and they get back to play and they score the goal. And I mean, that's great, and that gives us all, we all think, oh, you know, I had a role in that. And that's true, and that continues to be true for me. But I think the reason why I continue to do this is the relationships that we have with our players and our staff and the folks, not only internal to the hockey community or the New Jersey Devils organization, but as we start to grow and meet, you know, folks like this, and we own the, you know, I don't own anything, but our owners own the 76ers, we've got relationships there. So I think it's about relationships, both professionally external to your organization as well as internal.
Duane?
For me, it's two things. Just like he said, just watching an athlete get back on the field, coming back from an injury, scoring that touchdown, scoring that goal, or scoring the basket, what have you. But also relationships that I've built with my students. To see a student go on and become certified and get a job and get placed, that's rewarding as well.
Excellent. Yeah, they can go on to represent what you've meant for them as well. Mark?
Yeah, I've kind of transitioned from two different realms of, you know, 25 years of really concentrating on 23 to 25 players and maximizing, you know, their potential and keeping them on the field, and then moving into this role of overseeing our medical operations department and the stuff that I'm doing with PBATs along with Major League Baseball, you know, getting involved in some of the rule changes like the second base rule change, the sliding, and being involved in that that component of it, and then you know, some, you know, governmental things with youth baseball and some guidelines and things like that. It's kind of been able to, I've been fortunate enough to stay in the game at the major league level and have an interaction with the players, but then have an impact on some of the things that are going on outside the game, hopefully to make it a better sport for those that are coming.
Yeah, and since I skipped the bio portion that I was supposed to give for each one, that backtrack a little bit and say, so Mark, having been the head athletic trainer for the Cubs for many years, has moved into a director position. So he's got a little bit of a different role now, where there's still medical care, but serving as a director role, overseeing everybody within the organization. Mm-hmm. So a lot more administration, but still healthcare in itself. And then James has also moved into an administrative role as a director. So so don't sell yourself short. I think the skill set that athletic trainers have is very far-reaching. It's not as siloed as you think it is. You think you have to, you can only be right here and do medicine. These gentlemen up here can show you that you've got a lot more talent than any of us ever give ourselves credit for as athletic trainers. What are, and obviously there's going to be a lot of challenges that you face every day, but Duane, start us off by explaining what do you consider to be an ongoing daily challenge within your role?
Probably the most challenging thing is staying current. It's so many new techniques, new machines, new things out there, people trying to sell you stuff. The next best product that's out there, that's more of a challenge to me, because when I was an assistant, I would get emails or phone calls, and I don't necessarily have to return them or answer them. But as a right, for them.
Yeah.
But as a head athletic trainer, you have to respond to everything, and it could be a challenge at times just to sift through all that information, what's good, what's not good, making calls to other teams and organizations to see if those using those products or not, if they're any good. That's a challenge.
That can be very time consuming.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah, Mark, what about for you?
Any lawyers in the group? I'd say agents, number one. I would agree. I think for us, and we were talking amongst ourselves beforehand, and these roles that we've taken on, we used to do them while we were the head athletic trainers, and now it's more than a full-time job. And the information and the technology and the analytics that's out there, especially in baseball. And one of the things our president, a guy named Theo Epstein, the first conversation I had with him when he came over was, I expect, you guys to be the most innovative out there in front of anybody else in what they're doing. And with all the numbers and you can watch NFL Network, NBA, MLB Network, all the networks, and there's the competition has really shrunk, and we view that our role and what we do as a sports medicine team is the next separator of competitive advantages for clubs, and that's the challenge that's the it's a huge challenge. It's a fun challenge, but I would say that like you were saying with the technology and everything that's out there, I think to me that's the biggest difference that from when I came up and trying to adapt to that.
Definitely a big growth in the area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, James, what about for you, challenge-wise?
I think challenge-wise, I agree with Duane and Mark about the technology and keeping current in your profession, like we all should do. But I think it goes back to your previous question about relationships, is having relationships with different people from different leagues, some of your colleagues that are in your same league, just learning different things and keeping current. Presently, for us, is actually trying to keep up with the changes within the league, because as PFAS president, we get a lot of information from the league office about changes that are coming and being able to adapt to that. But I really think the big change for me, being the elder statesman up here, is a change in the player. And I think adapting to the change in the type of athletes we have now. Yeah. And you have to, I make jokes all the time because Allison and Sam, they work with me, and the players are just totally different in how you have to approach them. Some of the personal problems that they have, I think you really have to, you may not want to, but you really have to get involved with them, because how their day goes, maybe how their practice goes or how their game goes, but you really have to help them fight through some issues that they may have outside that could be a big problem on Sunday when they play in a game. So I think you become part of their life, not only through the rehab and getting them better, getting back on the field, but some of the mental health issues that we see with players today. But I think that relationship is the one that you really is challenging today because of the type of athletes that we're getting.
Yeah, and it is. It's again that whole idea of the skill set that everybody has, right? But it's not just that silo of orthopedic injury care.
It's all those things that we're learning on the job,
right? As
we get involved into it, like Tiffany's getting involved. It's all those things we learn that they didn't give us a class for in school.
Yeah, and it's not in the books. Yeah. Kevin, what about you?
Yeah, I agree, and I think that if
besides learning to get on the ice and not fall down when you have to go deal with the
I got to come pay him a visit.
Yeah, you should come over. I mean, I think at some level it's the time, but I don't think that's unique to pro sports. I think I have friends that are high school athletic trainers, and their schedules I think are far worse than mine, and they don't travel very much if at all. So I don't think it's the time necessarily as a unique subset of what we do. At some level it's that we're always going, and part of that is a travel thing, but I also think that we're managing so many things external to just we have 23 roster spots, so we carry 23, 4 or 5 guys. If all I had to deal with was 25 guys, my life would be easy, but that's not the case, because we've got minor league systems and we've got draft picks. Then we're trying to manage, or at least oversee, or just kind of take the pulse of what's going on with them. And if I'm on the West Coast, our office in New Jersey opens at 8 or 8:30 or whatever, and they're battling with a workman's comp case, an insurer or Chubb, and they're calling me, and that's their job, and it's my job to answer the phone. So, none of the things uniquely are really that. It's just when you put them all together, it becomes very time consuming, and everything. Of course, everything is always an emergency, right? But if everything's very timely, and if you don't cross things off the list, they don't go away. So you just have to keep kind of plugging along.
Yeah, and I think that brings up a good point, is that no matter what setting you're in, you have a lot of people to report to, or to make happy, so to speak. And it's not just the athlete. Whether you have administrators, you have parents at a younger level, you guys have ownerships, you have agents, as you mentioned. So your world of influence is much more complicated. Yeah. So early on in your careers, when you were each starting out, what do you think helped advance your progress and your movement within the team that you're with, within the level that you're with, getting into professional ranks? Duane, you want to start?
Well, I don't think it was one thing in particular. it was a combination of things. One thing, like I mentioned before, staying current on what's out there, what's new, that helped me a lot. And just developing and maintaining a really good work ethic. I'm not really a verbal person. I let my work speak for what I do. And over a period of time, I'm a firm believer that people will recognize what you do just by working hard and doing what you're supposed to do.
That isn't getting seen a whole lot these days, it seems like, right?
I know, but
Yeah.
I'm old.
Yeah.
I'm old school.
It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing at all. Mark?
You know, baseball was always kind of considered in the dark ages behind some of the other sports and some of the things they were doing. It was a lot of old school, like a lot of the old managers and coaches, like, you know, weight rooms were non-existent. It was a different time back then, and that was one thing that you know, I tried to. It was almost like you're either going to step out on on a gangplank and make a difference, or follow suit. And you know, getting involved with implementing strength and conditioning programs, different protocols for throwing programs. You know, having them start understanding about pitch counts, stressful innings, recovery, and things like that. It was something that I was very interested in, and was able to use some of that and kind of got ahead of that. That being said, especially in baseball, you kind of work through the ranks like the players do. So there's a lot of good breaks that have to take place as well. But I think that the type of I went to University of Arkansas undergrad. We were at an alumni party last night watching a baseball game, and had several people come up and say, what is it? What makes a difference? And I said, it's your hands. It's your hand, and more than anything else. We can all turn on a switch. We can all do different things, but what can you do with your hands, with tissue, with all kinds of other stuff? And it was just making yourself the best clinician you can with the least amount of resources. And I think, and then using those resources. But I think exactly what you're saying. You just staying up on current techniques and what's going on, and just being truly dedicated to helping those athletes be as productive as they possibly can, and they know that, and they see that, and it works for you.
Yeah.
I agree with Mark wholeheartedly. Is that obviously you want to stay current in your profession like anyone else would do, but I think it's also, as you going along, remember why you wanted to do it, what your passion is when it comes to athletic training. If you really wanted to be an athletic trainer, you just keep that in mind. And I tried for many, many years to keep one thing in mind every morning that I got up, was as if it was my first day of going to work. And that kind of kept me going. But I think the job that you do, your passion for athletic training, and then just wanting to do the best you could for your athletes. And I think the one thing now that I've been in it for 30 years is that the more you learn about the dynamics of your club, the more it actually helps you in your job downstairs, understanding what their thinking is, why they're getting rid of one player, how come they're not getting rid of this player who you might think should be out of there. But it's just learning the whole dynamics of the sport, like Mark was saying, so that you kind of understand the whole thing, not just staying down in the athletic training room in your own little world. Okay, I got this guy ready to play, and now I'll just go out and watch practice or watch a game. It's just be a part of the game, not just over in your own little world.
Yeah, be involved.
So I think, I don't have one specific event that was like, a really pivotal moment, but I think for me, again, and I said it before, it's been about relationships. And so I meant, when I said that before, I was talking about players and, and internal to the organization, but I think professionally it's about relationships, and that's done here. Some of that is done at alumni parties, but not that much of it, right? So it's about asking questions and listening to people's answers and identifying a need. And, and then I think too, as athletic trainers, sometimes we're not that good at advocating for ourselves. And, we're in, like other medical delivery professions, we're helping people, right? We're the helpers. And we're good at that, but at the same time, we need to understand that there's some inherent value in that, and I think, it's been a couple of years now, but Greg Evans, I don't know if Greg Evans can hear me. Greg Evans works for School Health. He was the head athletic trainer at Wheaton College in Illinois for a long time. And he wrote a really cool article. I think it was in NATA News, and it's been a little while now. But he said, you know, he was at a smaller school in the Chicago area, and he thought he deserved more money. And I don't recall anymore if it was a promotion or money or whatever it was, but he wrote a really nice article about how he went to the administration. He said, this is what I do for you, and this is the value that I have. And so I think that we need to remember that and advocate for that. And I don't think, you know, we were just talking, Mark and I, about, you know, 3, 5, 10 years ago, if you'd said there's going to be an athletic trainer who's a director of medical services for the New York Rangers and for the New York Islanders and for the Chicago Cubs, I would have been like, but we're athletic trainers, like we work on people and body parts and whatever. And okay, well, that's true. But, you know, the last time I came to this conference, which was you know, a long time ago, it was a lot smaller. And I got here, whoa, holy cow. Well, it's because I know athletic trainers that I went to college with longer ago than I want to admit, who work in all sorts of professions that were never there before. And that's why, is because somebody took the time to stand up and say, hey, I can do that. I can work for that orthopedic surgeon, and I'll make you faster. And if I make you faster, you make more money. So hiring an athletic trainer sounds like a pretty good idea, doesn't it? You know, so I think that we need to take the time, identify what we're good at, and speak to that, because I think that that's what's taken this profession forward. And that's why, it's not why I'm in my job, but it's certainly why Mark's in his job, and why jobs like this even exist.
One other thing I'd like to say is that one of the things that Kevin just said was about listening. And I think if you actually take the time to listen to your athletes and what they're telling you, and don't just take it for granted because you have in your mind what you want to do. If you listen to your athletes, that makes you grow faster than you can believe. Because if you have a great relationship with them, like we've been saying earlier, the relationship is great, and listen to what they're telling you about how they feel whenever you're doing a rehab on them or whatever, or what's happening on the field. That'll help you grow faster than you can think, you remember.
Yeah, there seems to be a pretty prominent theme here on relationships and compassion and listening. And, you know, for all you young individuals out there, don't take this personal, but there is that thing. I think that's a lot of learning to take place right there, is take a step back and learn, take a step back and listen to people that have been there already before you, that they made steps and small steps to learn along the way, as opposed to walking in and thinking like they knew it all. Okay, the first time each of you were in the position that you were in, if you thought you knew it all, you probably wouldn't still be in the position that you were in, right? You had to kind of take a step back and humble yourself a little bit and understand that you have to listen and you have to learn, and that's going to keep you going. So, so what steps can athletic trainers who are just beginning their careers take now to propel themselves into a successful career in the professional space? Kevin, you want to start that?
Yeah, so number one is ask questions, and I mean that. Take any opportunity you can to talk to. It's not us, but whether it's the head athletic trainer at your university or your team physician or one of the vendors here, and ask questions about what it is that they do and why is their product valuable and why did you evaluate that knee that way? Because I learned how to evaluate a knee, so I just know how to evaluate a knee. So there's no way I could possibly learn your way because my way is great, right? And it's like, well, no, you could pick up little bits and pieces. You know, I bootleg a lot of stuff. So there's a lot of things that I would do clinically. You know, yeah. I'm not on their website as a practitioner of this, but I learned it from somebody else and it worked. And I said, oh, well, I don't need to be on the website, and I'm not billing for that, so I'm going to take that, I'm going to put it in my toolbox, you know? So I think it's about picking up things along the way without falling into the pitfall of trying to do too much. You can't be all things to all people, but just take little bits and pieces as you go. I think that that's something that you have to be mindful in just taking baby steps.
Excellent. Duane, want to go next?
I think taking advantage of an atmosphere like this. I remember years ago when I was at Florida State University and I wanted to get in the NFL, I tracked James down. I wrote every head athletic trainer in the NFL a letter. He was only one of 2 people that responded, but I tracked him down. Wherever he went, I went, trying to get in the NFL, trying to talk to James, trying to sit down and talk to James, collecting business cards. following up with people, not just collecting business cards and just have them collect dust. Follow up with people. Me being real aggressive with James got me an interview with the Kansas City Chiefs. I eventually got hired in New Orleans, but it's all because of James. But it was my approach to him, not just writing a letter to him, but actually following up. I saw him, I ran up to him, I talked to him, I followed him around. Every meeting he went to, I went. But it worked out.
It worked.
It worked out.
Well, and
Don't do that now.
Yeah, don't follow James around.
I have his personal information, but it worked out.
Yeah. But I think in defense to that as well is that he wouldn't have recommended you. He wouldn't have put his reputation out there unless he believed in you as well. So you had put the work in up front already to get. You just need that little help to make that next step. So everybody, do your work. Set yourself up for success in that. Mark?
Get James's cell number. For us, it's, I would say, take a little different route. We have a good, strong network with a lot of the collegiate athletic trainers, and a lot of them will call and say, hey, I've got a couple of really good students that are interested in baseball. So if you're interested in baseball, make sure it's known to the people that you're working with at the, at your university, whatever setting, or reach out. But we have, we've got a pretty strong, I know everybody does, a strong internship program with the NATA. And I would say that I don't know what the correct number is, but I know it's over 90% of the people that we hire, all 30 clubs hire, have gone through some sort of an internship program with one of the 30 clubs, and it's a 3 to 6 month working interview where they get to know you. I would echo everything everybody's saying, but I would say that if you're interested in baseball, it's you really need to dig into into an internship with one of the leagues if it's one of the ones you're special with. And I know, like, our on pbats.com, it's open usually from November to January, I think, is where you can apply for them for us. But I think that I'm sure everybody else is going to touch on other things, but it's the internship programs are absolutely huge in our industry.
Yeah, and be willing to work hard in those internships, right?
Right.
Who's?
I definitely agree with what everyone has said. Same thing in the NFL. With PFAS, we have a internship program which works very well, and we get some really great students in there. That's one thing, and that goes back to what Duane was saying, was making contact with people in the industry and let them know what your passion is, that you're interested in that sport. And then going back to what Kevin was saying, it's that your toolbox. Don't let yourself be caught up in just what you learn in the books, because you're not dealing that athlete. We don't have that perfect athlete where everything's going to work that you try. So you have to kind of expand your mind a little bit and learn something from everybody you run into. The other thing, especially if you're in college, is that you get put into different sports where you can probably learn something from that sport that can help you if you end up in football, or if you end up in hockey or whatever. So don't just throw it away, like Kevin was saying. Put it in your toolbox, because it's probably going to be needed one day, because like every one of your athletes that you treat is not the same. So I think it's great what everyone said up here, that it's a lot, and you just have to get yourself involved and just be passionate about it.
Yeah, and don't ever think that you know it all, right?
No.
That's
Still learning.
Mark?
Say on the interns, if we don't have spots or whatever, it's kind of interesting talking this way, but we meet the 30 people in my role, the 30 head athletic trainers, the 60 to 90 assistants in the league. We're not in a war. We're in there to help each other out, and we want to do what's best for the game. And I can't tell you how many times we've had interns that we didn't have a spot for, but I'll call 4 or 5 other organizations, and they'll find a place for them. So there's, within each league, there's a lot of interaction with the staffs, and if you've got a good recommendation and you've got the drive, you can find something.
So we're wrapping up here, and this is going to be the last question. Obviously, there's a lot of experience. between all of you collectively, but each of you has a lot of individual experience as well. So looking back on your career, and what you have learned over the years, what would you advise your younger self to do differently, if anything?
It's a long time for me to think back.
Should we go? We're going to let James go last. He's got to think about it. So,
I'm just kidding.
Mark.
Can I go third?
Mark's going first.
Number one is don't upset Maggie. That's an internal joke.
Let's keep it that way.
Yeah. The one thing I do over with, it's been I've been blessed. It's been an incredible ride. I've worked for organizations that have dealt with, personal issues that I've had and have worked with me on those. And the friends and everything like that. I'm sure there's certain things, little things I don't want to be I'm not trying to be Tony Robbins here, but I'm not so sure there's anything I really would have done different.
That's all right. That's right. Duane, want to go?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I keep it just like it was.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay, Kevin, you were going third. So.
I know, and it's such a cop-up, but I have to say same answer, and I say that because, well, at the time, along the way, I absolutely would have changed things, and I thought I was in the minors for too long, and I thought I wasn't getting paid enough money, and all those things, and maybe I was right, I don't know, but I don't think I would be the clinician that I am today if I hadn't done the things and kind of gone the road, traveled the road I traveled, and I'm not sure if I'd be, here talking with you or in the job or whatever. I don't know that, but I think that I am the person I am, and I'm the clinician that I am, and I'm the boss that I am because of the experiences that I've had. So it wasn't all perfect, and at the time, obviously, we all have challenges. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know that I would change anything.
Great. So far, good decisions, James.
Yeah, and I would have to agree with everyone. I don't have this grand statement to make, but I think if I had done it any different for me, because as we said earlier, relationships is probably the best part, whether it be a player or staff member, whatever. But I would have to say I wouldn't have had the opportunity to meet special people that are in my life, like Jim Keller and Sam and Allison, and all the people that I work with.
Yeah.
I've been to a couple other teams. I've met some great people, and I continue to meet people like yourself, Jeff. I think that's what's great about it. And just like you hear athletes say when they leave the game, it's the people and the relationships that you miss.
Yeah.
I can sit and watch a football game on Sunday, but it's the people that were actually helped make up your career as you were going through your journey. So that's really, it would definitely be the same way.
That's excellent. And that doesn't mean, doesn't mean that they felt like everything was perfect, but everything happened for a reason, and everything that happened led to the next step, and created the experiences that you all had. Yeah, Kevin.
At the risk of sounding, really, like I was told to say this, but I just think that I'm just really, really pro athletic trainer, and I'm really proud to be an athletic trainer, and I really tell people that with great pride, and I say that for a lot of reasons, but because of many of the relationships that some of them have been dumped in my lap, and some of them I've, forged myself, and some of them just kind of happened by happenstance. I'm fortunate enough to have, friends and family that's become my athletic training family really all over the country and all over North America. Obviously spend a lot of time in Canada, and we always laugh because, I work with orthopedic surgeons and, some fancy New York City orthopedic surgeons, and they'll call me and say, hey, I need a rehab place in Nashville. Do you know anybody? Because he doesn't know anybody.
Yeah.
But he knows that I do, and I do, and it's not because of me, it's because of the quality of people that I've chosen to surround myself with, but it's also because of the quality of people that I think we are as an organization, a profession. And I'm like, yeah, hold on. And in a half an hour, I've got them, well, here's a great clinic. This is a PTATC I worked with in grad school. They're fantastic. This is who you should see. And I think that's a testament to kind of the, the big picture and the bigger network. And I know everybody has that, at some level. And so it just happened. They needed somebody in Memphis. There's no hockey in Memphis, but there's basketball. And I called the Knicks, and it was easy, and so those things happen. And again, It's because of being professional and going to meetings and asking questions and having coffee with people or other things with people, you know, but it evolves over time, you know, and those things, you meet a lot of people and then you never see them again, or you see them every once in a while and you say hello, and that's fine, but it's the evolution of the relationship that I think is so critical, and that's why people ask me that question, is because I'm going to recommend to somebody, I'm going to pass that along and just kind of extend that communication. And for that reason, I'm just so proud to be representing pro hockey, but also just to be oftentimes representing athletic trainers as a group. I know that sounds like really, you know, a cheerleader, but it's true.
You have to be a cheerleader, right? And I think sometimes as athletic trainers, we could be our best advocates and we can be our worst enemies as well. So if we don't advocate for ourselves, we shouldn't expect anybody else to do it, and do it professionally. And just like you guys are building a toolbox of tools and rehab and treatment, you're building your toolbox of relationships and connections and respect also, and admiration from the different people out in the community. So thank you all for being here. We are out of time. I appreciate every one of you guys. I don't know how fast everybody has to rush off, but if anybody wants to come up and ask questions, they're going to be available. So thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate everybody.